NASA's terrifying contact with 3I Atlas reveals bone-chilling truth. You won't believe this. It started as a normal day in mission control. Scientists huddled around screens, their eyes fixed on the flickering data. But when the telemetry from 3I Atlas began showing blips of high-intensity radiation, blips that shouldn't be there, an eerie silence enveloped the room. Sweat pooled on foreheads. Their hearts raced. An object from deep space was trying to communicate, and something about it felt deeply wrong, like an unsolved riddle wrapped in shadows. Around the world, whispers spread like wildfire. What was this strange celestial visitor? The headlines screamed, NASA's latest discovery may change everything. And there was good reason for the panic. 3I Atlas wasn't supposed to be here, and it wasn't just the science behind this anomaly that gripped people in terror. It was what they sensed behind it. The calculations hinted not just at an object, but the potential for something that belonged to an entirely different realm of understanding. That's when the rumors started, strange artifacts hidden within the structure that looked like ancient signs, secrets begging to be unraveled. As scientists painstakingly combed through images, they found odd shapes within the gravitational pull of that distant traveler, marks that resembled faded hieroglyphs, scenes of unfathomable terror, and some believed they recognized them. A deep chill crept up their spines. Lurking within those images lay the dark echo of humanity's deepest fears, rooted in the unknown. Excitement bubbled beneath the surface. Could this be proof of not just life, but of intelligent life? The air crackled with energy, underscored by the weight of the unknown. Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. As the days passed, reports flooded in. People claiming to have seen visions in their dreams, visions intertwined with the shape of 3I Atlas, sending them racing to ancient texts, hoping for answers. Tension built in homes across the country. What if it's a warning? They muttered, fear thick in their voices. Others rallied against the very idea that humans were not alone, the skepticism palpable. The air simmered with doubt, anger, and dread. In Mission Control, the lead scientist, Dr. Greg Anderson, stared at the swirling images on the screen, a lump forming in his throat as he realized the implications. Isolated symbols seemed to form patterns, each pulse of light flickering like a heartbeat, taunting them. Was 3I Atlas more than a scientific marvel? Could it really be trying to tell them something? What lay beneath that tantalizing surface? Suddenly, the lights flickered, plunging the room into darkness. A collective gasp echoed as screens went black. Panic surged. Did they tap into something they weren't meant to? The tension soared, tightening around them like a noose. What was happening? Had 3I Atlas breached their world? In that moment of uncertainty, the screen flickered back to life. And there, bold as daylight, was an image unlike any they had seen before, an eye, vast and endlessly deep, glimmering with age-old wisdom. What did it want? What did it see? The room held its breath, caught in the grip of that image, the question lingering, were they prepared for what lay ahead? A surge of whispers filled the room, a wave of horror creeping through the ranks of scientists. The eye loomed larger, a haunting void that seemed to pull in the very light around it. Dr. Anderson felt the hairs on his arms stand at attention. The image felt alive, as if staring right back at them. What unnatural force had they awakened? Is this some kind of warning? A young intern, Lisa, breathed out, her voice trembling. Faces turned to Dr. Anderson, seeking answers, but all he could muster was a shaky breath. What was he supposed to say? That they were in over their heads? That they had invited chaos with open arms? Around the globe, the tension escalated. News anchors spoke with grave urgency, voices raised in horror. Social media platforms buzzed with frantic posts. The end is near. Someone said it was the apocalypse. Others claimed it was a message from beyond, either pleading or threatening. Fear was a living thing now, breathing down everyone's neck. Back in mission control, chaos reigned. Technicians scrambled to stabilize systems that continued to flicker erratically. Instruments beeped urgently, mirroring the pulse of dread that gripped the room. The eye transitioned, morphing into new shapes, geometric patterns that flashed too quickly to analyze. Were they codes? Directions? Or something worse? Dr. Anderson's hands shook as he attempted to analyze the shifts on the screen. "We need to decrypt this," he said, urgency burning in his chest. "We can't ignore it. We owe it to stop." A voice cut through the tension. Dr. Roberts, a veteran scientist with deep lines etched into his forehead, stood with a look of madness in his eyes. "This isn't just data. It's a warning. We could be dealing with something far more catastrophic than we understand." Gasps echoed again, and the fluorescent lights above flickered ominously. The scientists exchanged terrified glances, the room thumping with a palpable sense of doom. Dr. Anderson felt a wave of nausea. The truth was that they were playing with forces beyond their comprehension. Suddenly, a loud crash reverberated through the building, followed by shouts. They rushed to the windows. Outside, a crowd gathered, faces pale with fear, shivers running down their spines. Reports of strange occurrences flooded in high-pitched sounds echoing across towns, pets acting strangely, technology failing without explanation. It was as if 3i Atlas wasn't just sending information. It was shaking loose something ancient lurking just beyond the veil. In the depths of his mind, Dr. Anderson wondered if they were observers, or if they had become unwitting participants in some cosmic game. What was the object really trying to convey? "Should we reach out?" Lisa asked hesitantly, eyes wide. "Try to communicate back?" Dr. Anderson's heart raced, heavy with dread. Fear dripped like sweat down his brow. That question hung in the air like a lit fuse, a sliver of potential doom. As he looked back at the eye, the echoing questions roared louder in his mind. Were they prepared to face the unknown, whatever lurked beneath its surface? Just then, the pulsing light from the screen shifted again, revealing a symbol, one they all recognized, an ancient rune scene carved into old stones across cultures. Their breaths caught, something primal surged inside them. "Prepare to send a signal," Dr. Anderson ordered, his voice steely with resolve and fear, but deep down, a part of him quavered. They were on the brink of an abyss, on the edge of human understanding. But as they attempted to establish communication, static filled the air, and an ominous voice broke through, sending chills down their spines. "Why did you call me? What would happen next? Would they even survive the answer?" The room fell silent, a thick suffocating quiet spiraling around them. Dr. Anderson's eyes widened as he registered the voice, each syllable heavy with dread. It wasn't just sound. It felt like a finger tracing along the edges of his consciousness, an invitation cloaked in menace. "Why did you call me?" The voice echoed again, more powerful this time. The screens flickered as if answering, pulsating with rhythmic intensity that matched the frantic beat of his heart. Lisa gripped the edge of her desk, knuckles white. "What do we do?" she whispered, fear quaking in her voice. The group's eyes darted to Dr. Anderson, who struggled for composure. They were bordering on insanity, puppets tangled in strings of their own making. Dr. Roberts swooped in, his eyes wide and frantic. "It's feeding off our fear. Every word it senses our panic." "Then we must calm down," Dr. Anderson argued, though he felt a lump in his throat. "We need to respond. We have to maintain control." But control slipped like sand through their fingers. The static buzzed angrily and the images on the screens morphed into indistinct faces, shadows twisting in failed attempts to break free from the unknown. Each face flickered in and out, appearing tortured, twisted. The eyes still lingered, observing with a thirst that sent ice through their veins. What if we stop all transmissions?" Lisa suggested, voice barely above a murmur, her optimism wavering. We could sever the connection." "No!" Dr. Roberts roared, his eyes gleaming with a manic light. "You don't understand. It might take that as a hostile action. What if it retaliates? The growing tension coiled tighter, like a live wire, and a dread urgency filled the air. Would severing the connection lead to consequences beyond their comprehension? Would they plunge deeper into the abyss they had stirred? Suddenly, from nowhere, a surge of static disrupted their desperate thoughts. A new voice joined the first, guttural and distorted, rasping like dry leaves in the wind. You awaken what lies beneath you have called forth chaos. Dr. Anderson's breath hitched as he processed what they were hearing. Chaos? He echoed, seeking a deeper understanding. Did they really call forth something so primal, so discouraged? Cease your calls, the new voice warned, or lose what is dear. The monitors spattered images of chaos fires across the globe, floods, anarchy creeping like shadows in the night. Dr. Anderson's heart dropped, as realization washed over him. Each disaster, each flickering image could be linked back to their actions. Their attempt to communicate was a disruption born from arrogance. We're not just scientists anymore, we're conduits. He shouted over the rising panic in the room. Lisa's eyes morphed from fear to a determined resolve. Then we have to take responsibility. We can't let this go further. But before they could implement any plan, the lights flickered violently, plunging them into darkness for a moment that felt endless. Dread pooled in the pit of their stomachs. The murmurs of the outside crowd grew, overwhelming, a torrent of panic spilling into the control room. Then, just as suddenly as the darkness had swallowed them, the lights burst back to life. The eye was now twisted in confusion, an orchestration of chaos where once it had been ominous, now it seemed agitated, restless. Your fear will consume you, it whispered again, if you do not learn the dance. Understanding hit Dr. Anderson like a thunderclap. It wants us to learn. To engage. But how? What dance could they hope to master? An unresolved tension twisted the air, pulling at them like a tidal current. They stood at the precipice of an unimaginable reality. The air hummed with impending danger, the collective breaths of the scientists held in tight anticipation. What lay beyond the veil? And would they dare to reach through it? As uncertainty gripped them, Dr. Anderson's voice pierced the chaos. We need to explore this. We have to understand before it's too late. But as he spoke, the screens flickered again, the sigils on display sparking with new meanings. Streaming symbols began to swirl together, coiling into a knot of energy. Across the room, a single thought raced through everyone's mind. Could they truly decode the message before the clock ran out? The screens pulsated with a frenetic glow, the symbols twisting into a mind-bending pattern that seemed to breathe. Dr. Anderson leaned closer, his pulse racing, urgency flooding his every thought. It was almost as if the swirling sigils were calling to him, begging him to comprehend their hidden meaning. What does it want? Lisa's voice cut through the haze, trembling yet fierce. Her eyes mirrored a mixture of fear and determination. Dr. Roberts moved closer to the monitors, his brow furrowed in deep concentration. It's like a language. We have to decipher it before it decides we're not worth its time. Language? Dr. Anderson echoed, his mind racing. The hairs on his neck stood on end. What kind of language? Before a response could take shape, the screens erupted in a chaotic discord, images flashing faster, flames igniting cities, storms tearing through the serenity of towns, faces contorted in terror. Each disaster seemed more intense than the last, a clear message. Is it telling us to stop? Lisa interjected, panic replacing her previous resolve. Or is it showing us what happens if we don't? Both, Dr. Roberts murmured, voice laced with dread. And we're running out of time. The tension wrapped around them, heavy and suffocating. The words "cease your calls or lose what is dear" echoed in Dr. Anderson's mind. Anyone or anything able to conjure such chaos held a daunting power. And they were the ones who had poked the beast out. A violent static crackled through the room, an angry hum that surged toward a breaking point. The eye returned, now shifting from agitated to enraged, the darkness behind it swirling like a storm. Your treachery has awakened me. I am the harbinger of reckoning. Anderson's heart raced. What does it mean? Harbinger of reckoning? the eye fixed on them with an intensity that felt like it could pierce through their very souls. Shadows writhed on the screens, morphing into images of a glorious past, civilizations flourishing within cosmic arms. Then came the decay, crumbling structures, weeping souls, a host of past empires that had embraced darkness. What if they ignored the warnings? Dr. Roberts mused, his eyes darting frantically between the screens. What if they refused to engage? A surge of electricity coursed through the room, jolting them. Visions of devastation twisted their thoughts into a knot of horror. The voice returned, dripping with malice. You grasp at understanding, yet lack the will to comprehend true essence. Dr. Anderson knew they were touching on something beyond their imagination. Fear, chaos, responsibility, an insidious web pulling them deeper. We can face it, he declared, though doubt crept into his voice. But we must analyze together. To engage fully, we have to be unified. Their eyes met, a flicker of resolve ignited amidst the fear. They couldn't ignore the weight of the situation. It didn't matter how terrifying the darkness was. They were scientists, the seekers of truth. Could they match this being's power through discovery instead of dread? But even as they forged their plan, a sudden alarm blared sharp, ear-splitting. They turned, hearts racing. The doors slammed shut, sealing them within. The air thickened with an oppressive force. Let the dance begin, the voice echoed, sultry and sinister. Lisa gasped, eyes wide. What does that mean? Before anyone could answer, the lights flickered menacingly, plunging the room into a near twilight darkness once more. The symbols on screen lit up, pulsing in time with their heartbeat. The world outside began to tremble, an ominous promise. The countdown had begun. Were they ready to go deeper into the unknown? And then came a voice, a new whisper, ghostly and haunting, directly from the screens. Shall you pay the price, or will you cherish what remains? In that fraught moment, they stood on the edge of a revelation, but one question lingered like a specter. Would they embrace the unknown or succumb to the chaos they had awakened? The lights danced erratically, their flickering providing a brief glimpse into the chaotic world around them. The message pulsated on the screens, an omnipresent heartbeat echoing threats and warnings. Dr. Anderson felt the claustrophobia of their confinement closing in each breath, deepening the sense of urgency. Stay focused. He shouted above the cacophony, heart hammering wildly. If we work together, we can find a way out of this. Lisa nodded, but there was fear in her eyes. What if it's too late? What if we're already too far in? Dr. Roberts, hunched over the monitors, his fingers flying across the keyboard in frantic timing, lifted his gaze. There, look! It's shifting. The patterns are changing. The symbols on the screen morphed before them, coalescing into more structured designs. It was as if the chaos was revealing a hidden blueprint, a labyrinth of meaning waiting to be decoded. We're not just looking at a language, it's a warning system. A deep tremor resonated through the room, knocking them off balance. The thicker air around them swirled with a static charge, causing their hair to lift slightly. More images flashed, scenes of a world winding down, a catastrophe that trickled into existence. Buildings collapsing, rivers of fire cascading down hillsides. That's the essence of it, Dr. Roberts exclaimed. It's like it's showing us its fears. With resolve steeling his spine, Dr. Anderson took a breath. Then let us show it we understand. We need to respond individually and as a team. But as the words left his lips, a wave of tempestuous energy crashed through the room. The eye on the screen expanded, its gaze penetrating and unyielding. You toy with truths beyond your comprehension. Your response will only deepen the darkness. Dr. Anderson felt his heart drop. It was as if the entity anticipated their every move, spinning the thread of destiny tighter around them. What do we even say? He muttered, desperation clawing at him. The ominous voice morphed into a cacophony of whispers, layering over each other, laced with anticipation and malice. Each choice comes at a price, and the balance of power is exquisite. Another shudder swept through the chamber, rattling the monitors. And then, amidst the discord, a chilling silence began to envelope them. Every click, every hum of machinery seemed swallowed by an unseen force. A ghostly chill wrapped around Lisa, making her shiver. I feel it. What if there's a way out, but it requires sacrifice? Dr. Roberts' eyes widened. What if it means giving up something we hold dear? The flickering light stuttered, cast shadows dancing across their worried faces. We can't just give in, Anderson argued, though doubt shivered along his spine. We can find another way, one that doesn't cost us everything. But as he spoke, the screens lit up once more, the symbols forming a destiny so breathtakingly beautiful yet profoundly terrifying. It hinted at paths not only of despair but of rebirth, as if revealing a truth that transcended their understanding. Is this what we seek? The voice asked, softer, seductive. Or is it merely the phantom of hope? The room tilted, vertigo spinning through their minds. Dr. Anderson gripped the edge of the table, racing thoughts colliding. In this moment of reckoning, hope dangled like a fragile thread. They stood at an intersection, faced with their choices and the horrifying consequences that lay ahead. And then, with terrifying clarity, the earth shook beneath them. It was a deep, resonating sound, the pulse of something ancient awakening. Can you feel it? The reckoning has begun, and with a final breath, the lights blacked out completely. The flickering images vanished into shadows, leaving the three scientists in a shrouded darkness, hearts pounding as the voice echoed one last time, "What price will you pay to step into the light?" In the oppressive quiet, they clutched each other, knowing their choices would ripple far beyond the confines of their own reality. What lay beyond the darkness? And could they confront the truth they had awakened? As they braced for whatever came next, the revelation lingered like a ghost, waiting to ignite their fates. The silence was palpable. Dr. Anderson's heart pounded in time with the haunting echo of that last question. What price would they pay? He felt fear clawing at his insides, wrapping around him like a vice. Is anyone hurt? Lisa's voice trembled, breaking through the thickness of the dark. The soft sound of her breath was reassuring, as if they were still alive. He could sense her fighting for composure. No! Dr. Roberts shouted, his words harsh and desperate. Stay together. They stumbled through the void, edging toward where the last flicker of light dimmed. The room felt distorted, stretching and compressing in ways their minds couldn't grasp. It was a living entity, breathing and hungry. Maybe we should answer it? Lisa suggested quietly. Anderson felt a cold knot twist further in his stomach. You mean give in to its demands? We don't even know what we're dealing with. Could it be worse than staying silent? She countered. What if the darkness comes for us? It's already taken the light. The flickering screens had now vanished, but a faint glimmer began to illuminate the far corner of the room. It was barely there, a ghost light, inviting yet dreadful. Their instincts screamed to run, yet the uncertain warmth beckoned. I don't trust it, Dr. Roberts explained, his voice echoing unnaturally in the empty room. If we respond without knowledge, we might seal our fate. Clutching at the edge of a table, Anderson forced himself to breathe steadily. We cannot give in to fear. It wants us to panic. The words felt hollow, as if he were trying to convince himself more than them. But as they judged their options, the echoes morphed again, wrenching the stillness with an ominous timbre. Feel it. It crooned. Feel your choices weighty as stones, your sacrifice will balance the scales. A sudden tremor coursed through the air, rattling the walls, sending shivers skittering down their spines. It was like the heartbeat of some dormant giant, reminding them they were mere ants beneath its shadow. What if it's true? Lisa whispered, apprehension tugging at her resolve. What if we need to sacrifice something to escape this? The glimmering light pulsed softly now, almost like a heartbeat, radiating warmth in stark contrast to the tightening darkness. Anderson moved toward it reflexively, drawn in by its allure. No! Dr. Roberts grasped his shoulder tightly. Don't! It could be a trap. But the light flickered again, revealing something within. Images began to form, a tableau of lives once lived, joy and laughter trapped in a shimmering cycle, memories yearning for release. It was beautiful but terrifying. Faces stared back at them, mirroring their own fears, drenched in dread of the choices made. It's like a reflection, Anderson gasped. It's showing us what we feared to lose. They were drowning in uncertainty. Would they be willing to release those they loved for an unknown chance at survival? Sacrifice seemed to flood the air, mixing hope with dread, choking them. Is this our way out? Lisa's voice quivered, clinging to the light. Then, as if sensing their hesitation, the shadows pulsed violently. Time stood still, the room spinning, and the very ground trembled as an insistent whisper pierced through. What are you willing to lose? Choose wisely. The three stood, paralyzed, every instinct screaming at them to flee, yet captivated by the sorrowful beauty of the light. They were all that stood between the shadows and salvation. In that moment, decisions loomed like mountains, each choice carrying weight, each consequence unmeasurable in the darkness. As the light beckoned, and the whispers hung heavy in the air, one question hung like a guillotine blade over them: would they muster the courage to sacrifice their deepest fears? And just as they resolved to step forward, the ground beneath tremored again, and the flickering images imploded. Plunging into chaos, they were abruptly flung into the unknown, grasping each other tightly, hearts racing what awaited them on the other side. And could they trust their instincts to lead them home? The chaos swallowed them whole, a torrent of darkness and confusion. Anderson felt the pull of gravity shift as if the walls had twisted around him. For a moment, there was nothing but weightlessness, a terrifying void where time itself held its breath. Then came a violent jolt, slamming them back into a new reality. They tumbled onto a cold, metallic floor, their bodies crashing against each other as sharp pain shot through Anderson's limbs. Groaning, he struggled to sit up. The light was gone, replaced by a stark, sterile illumination that flooded the space like a spotlight on a stage. What just happened? Lisa gasped, her eyes wide with shock and fear. Dr. Roberts shifted, wincing as he braced himself against the wall. I don't know, but we're not where we were. As their surroundings sharpened into focus, they realized they were in some kind of control room. Monitors flickered with data that seemed impossibly complex, lines of code scrolling rapidly, languages they did not understand flashing by. A faint humming filled the air, underscoring an unsettling ambience. Look at those screens. Anderson pointed, unable to mask the rising panic in his voice. What are they monitoring? The closest screen displayed a swirling mass of colored lights, a bizarre map that appeared to pulse in time with an unseen heartbeat. It sent chills down Anderson's spine. Is that space? Lisa asked, her brow knit in concentration. What does it mean? Before they could formulate an answer, the walls trembled again, as if responding to a pulsing force somewhere beyond. The air thickened with tension. Then the quiet returned, and something felt off, like the calm before an impending storm. Suddenly, a voice crackled through the control room as speakers, sharp and mechanical. Intruders detected. Initiating protocols. What does that mean? Dr. Roberts shouted, his voice strained with urgency. Get away from the screens. Anderson grabbed Lisa's arm and pulled her back just as the monitor closest to them exploded in a shower of sparks, the room lit momentarily with a blinding light. They ducked instinctively, hearts racing. It's a trap! Lisa yelled, fear coiling tightly within her chest. Figures cloaked in shadows flickered at the fringes of the room, barely visible, yet the weight of their presence was crushing. Sacrifice remnant essence, the voice echoed, disjointed, a bizarre chant that chilled their bones. What do they want from us? Dr. Roberts breathed heavily, scanning the chaos. We need to figure this out, fast. Maybe it's still tied to our choice in the darkness. It's like we've crossed over into their realm, Anderson said, piecing together the fragments of his comprehension. As he spoke, flashes of the memories they had seen earlier, laughter, loss, love flooded his mind. Anderson glanced at Lisa, her eyes reflecting both determination and terror. We have to reclaim what we lost. Perhaps they're asking us to embrace our sacrifice's sacrifice? Lisa echoed, horror creeping into her voice. But what will it take? What do we have to give up? The air began to quiver, and the whispers intensified, swirling around them with a life of their own. Each phrase was a haunting caress, urging them to reveal their deepest fears, to surrender what they held close. As their breaths quickened and their hearts pounded, looming decisions crept around them like shadows. They had crossed into a place of unending darkness where their choices could either seal their fate or fold time back into a semblance of normalcy. Choose wisely, the voice hissed in finality, as the ground began to shake beneath their feet once more. Anderson stared wide-eyed into the unknown, steeling himself for the price they might have to pay. What would they sacrifice to escape? When the realization hit, it struck like thunder. Would one life weigh heavier than another? The walls began to tremble more violently as the shadows closed in, threatening to consume them whole. What terror awaited their decision? And then, amidst the chaos, came a new sound, a different voice rising above the cacophony, a voice they recognized, a desperate cry that shattered their resolve. It was a voice they never thought they would hear again. It called out their names, shattering the darkness, stirring memories both cherished and painful. But was it an illusion or salvation? In that moment of uncertainty, another choice emerged before them, weighing heavily in the silence that followed, a choice that could change everything. The voice echoed through the control room, each syllable piercing the silence like a knife. It was their old friend, Max, calling out in a tone of frantic urgency. Anderson! Lisa! Dr. Roberts! Please! You have to listen to me! Anderson's heart raced as memories of laughter and camaraderie flooded back. Max? Is that really you? He shouted, hope and disbelief warring within him. Yes. I'm here. But we can't stay here. You have to get out. Max's voice crackled with static, but the urgency was undeniable. He could feel the energy in the room shift, amplifying the terror that surged through their veins. The walls trembled again, shaking like a living thing. Shadows darted closer, their forms elongating, their whispers growing louder. Sacrifice, essence, remnant. The words coalesced, forming a symphony of dread that pressed on their minds. Where are you? Lisa cried out, searching the darkness for any sign of him. Max's voice grew strained. I'm trapped in the system. They won't let me out. You have to find the core. There's a way to do this. You have to believe me. Dr. Roberts struggled to keep himself steady against the first echoes of panic. The core? What do you mean? What is it? Where is it? They want your choices, your memories. But there's a way to break their control. If you can reach the core, you can flip the switch and reverse whatever they're about to do. Anderson's gaze darted around the room, searching for any hint of the core Max mentioned. Where is it? Max, please. We have to know. Follow the light. Suddenly, the speakers crackled violently, drowning out Max's words. The shadows surged forward, engulfing the room in darkness. A silhouette emerged, a monstrous figure, towering and grotesque, its face a swirling void. Anderson felt his breath catch in his throat. It took a step closer, and the temperature dropped, as if winter had seeped into their very bones. You wish to find salvation? It rumbled, its voice distorted and layered, filled with malice. What will you sacrifice for freedom? No! Lisa shouted, stepping forward, fists clenched. We want to give you what you want. The figure laughed, a sound chilling enough to steal the warmth from their hearts. You have already made sacrifices, and more await you. Choose now, or be consumed. Anderson clenched his jaw. We want to be your pawns. He turned to Lisa and Dr. Roberts, desperation coursing through him. We have to trust Max. He is still in there. We can't lose him too. Look! Dr. Roberts cried, pointing toward a faint, glowing pulsation in one corner of the room. The light. It's the path to the core. Yet before they could react, the monstrous figure lunged forward, its form shifting and swirling, blurring the line between reality and nightmare. You shall not pass. Let the darkness consume you. Anderson grasped Lisa's hand tight. We go together. On 3. 1, 2, 3. They sprinted towards the light, the weight of choice heavy on their hearts. The dark figure screeched, its voice slicing through their resolve. You will regret this choice. Regret will be your only companion. The light pulsed brighter, almost blinding, as they drew closer. But with every step, The whispers grew more urgent, prickling at their minds with memories long buried, confrontations unresolved. The consequences of their choices tugged at them, each hesitation a reminder of all they had lost. "Keep moving," Dr. Roberts urged, shoving them forward. They could feel the breath of darkness on their necks, icy tendrils clawing for them, and just as they reached the edge of the light, the room quaked violently, knocking them to their knees. The shimmering light flickered perilously, and in that moment, hesitation loomed larger than ever. "Will you sacrifice for love or lose a friend to save yourselves?" The shadows mocked, as time unraveled around them. The choice was before them, fractured and raw. Their pasts hovered like specters. What would they choose? Just then, the lights flickered out completely, plunging them into darkness. Anderson's heart raced as the world fell silent. And in that suffocating void, whispers grew louder, wrapping around him like chains. "Choose wisely," a voice beckoned again from the shadows. What awaited them in the abyss? Would they gain freedom, or would the darkness claim them forever? The darkness wrapped around Anderson, Lisa, and Dr. Roberts like a thick fog, suffocating and oppressive. He could feel the weight of the choice ahead pressing down on him, a relentless force demanding resolution. Where was the light? Where was Max? "Max!" he shouted, though he knew it was futile. The echoes of his voice bounced off unseen walls, feeding the despair growing inside him. The shadows clawed at his thoughts, dredging up memories he had buried deep, moments he wished to forget. Time felt elastic, stretching into an unbearable eternity. "Just hang on," Dr. Roberts urged, his voice strained as if he were fighting the encroaching darkness. "We have to keep moving. We'll find the core." The whispers swarmed around them, sinister echoes of past decisions, failed relationships, lost opportunities, moments of weakness. "You're not strong enough," they taunted. "You will fail." Lisa's breathing was shallow beside him. "Anderson, what if we can't find it? What if we don't get out of here?" Fear laced her voice, and he could sense the trembling in her hand. "No! We can't think like that." He tried to sound confident, but doubt gnawed at him. They had been thrust into a nightmare, their once steady lives turned into a twisted maze of shadows and uncertainty. "Follow the sound!" Dr. Roberts exclaimed suddenly, desperation fueling his words. "There has to be something guiding us." They pressed forward, hearts pounding, listening intently. But all that met their ears were dissonant whispers that blended into a cacophony, each syllable lighting tiny sparks of panic within them. Anderson strained to focus, letting the noise wash over him until there. A faint humming. "Over there," Lisa pointed, her eyes shining in the dim light that flickered at the edge of the void. They surged toward it, driven by an instinct stronger than fear. As they drew closer, the humming grew louder, harmonizing with the pulsing light that surrounded the elusive core Max had described. They finally reached it, an iridescent orb suspended in midair, pulsating like a heartbeat, casting eerie shadows against the walls. "It's beautiful," Lisa murmured, her voice barely above a whisper. "Look," Dr. Roberts said, leaning closer. "There's a console. We can interact with it." But as they approached, the shadows coiled tighter around them, writhing in agitation. "You wish to control what cannot be controlled," the monstrous voice thundered, shaking the very ground beneath them. The laughter that followed was bone-chilling. "Back away!" Anderson shouted, instinctively shielding Lisa. "We have to protect ourselves." But the darkness surged forward, wrapping around the console, filling the space with an oppressive dread. "To harness the core, you must expose your deepest fears," it hissed. "What will you sacrifice to break free?" "No!" Lisa cried, stepping forward defiantly. "We want to give in. We want to lose our memories." But even as she spoke, the shadows rippled, lighting up with flashes of their pasts, each flash a painful reminder of love lost, of dreams shattered. Lisa Anderson faltered, fear gripping his heart. "What if we have to choose?" "Shut it out!" she shouted, her voice piercing like a knife. "We can't give them that power." But the shadows intensified, swirling, reaching for them as the core flickered dangerously. Anderson felt a surge of warmth. A flicker of hope appeared in the glimmering orb, just enough for them to grasp onto. Together, we can do this, he urged, taking Lisa's hand. We can fight them. Their connection pulsed with energy, drawing strength from one another, grounding themselves amid the chaos. They stood side by side, determined. Just then, the nightmares surged. New images erupted in their minds each worst moment, each regret materializing like specters poised to drag them under. Are you willing to confront your fears? The darkness challenged, its voice reverberating through their bones. To face the truth? No! Anderson shouted, breaking through the suffocating grip. We choose to remember. We choose to fight. In that instant, the orb pulsed brightly, resonating with their defiance. Could they turn the tide? As the shadows lunged, they braced for the inevitable collision. Would they truly conquer the darkness, or would it drown them once more? The ground trembled as the answers loomed, veiled in shadows and whispers, waiting for the moment to strike. The darkness roared, swirling like a tempest, while the orb pulsed furiously, its warm glow fighting the icy tendrils grasping at Anderson, Lisa, and Dr. Roberts. They felt the energy vibrating through the air, uniting them, echoing the strength of their resolve. This time, they wouldn't back down. Let us remember who we are, Dr. Roberts shouted, planting his feet firmly. We're not just scientists, we're dreamers and explorers. We believe in the truth. The shadows writhed, momentarily retreating at their collective declaration. Anderson could feel the weight of despair easing just a fraction. What do we fear? He cried out, driving the point home. We fear losing sight of our purpose. We fear letting this darkness win. But we won't forget our love for discovery, for each other. As they channeled their emotions, love, fear, hope, the orb flared brightly, illuminating the dark recesses of the chamber. Yes. Hold on to that energy, Lisa urged, her voice growing stronger. We're connected, intertwined. Our choices, our sacrifices, they shape our path. But we get to decide what that path is. With each conviction, the orb radiated warmth, pushing back against the shadows, which hissed in fury. The dark figure loomed larger, its cold claws extending, wrestling for control. You cannot escape me. I am your fears, your regrets. No! Anderson yelled, fear transforming into defiance. You are just a part of us, and we will not let you dominate us. We embrace our memories, good and bad. They are ours to navigate. And at that moment, as if responding to their shared strength, the orb expanded, radiating a golden wave of energy that surged through the darkness, slashing like a knife. The shadows recoiled, shrieking a cacophony of despair. You will pay for this defiance! They howled as the orb surged with light, feeling unstoppable. Together! Dr. Roberts bellowed. We're stronger together! They pressed their hands against the surface of the pulsating orb, grounding themselves in this moment. The light enveloped them, and they began to remember the laughter shared in the lab, the spark of discovery igniting new possibilities, their friendships that weathered storms. Their darkest fears only illuminated their strength. Each fond memory fed the orb, fueling its brilliance. With one last collective scream of forward, they thrust their combined intent into the orb, and in doing so, unleashed a wave of radiant energy that flooded the room. The shadows shrieked, their form dissipating, retreating deep into the void. The walls trembled but stayed steadfast as the darkness was vanquished by the light. And then silence. The remnants of shadows faded into a mere whisper, nothing more than echoes of their past. They stood together, breathless, warmed by the radiance of the orb, the core pulsating gently in the now still control room. They felt the shadows lifting, the grip of chaos loosening, emotions swirling into clarity. Is it over? Lisa asked, her voice barely a whisper. Dr. Roberts placed a reassuring hand on her shoulder. I think we did it. We faced our fears and embraced our memories instead of letting them control us. But just as victory hung deliciously in the air, a familiar voice shattered the stillness. You have conquered one darkness, but remember there are many paths, many choices still ahead. Max's voice echoed in the chamber, full of wisdom. The shimmering orb flickered, revealing a map of glowing pathways leading beyond the room, weaving through uncertainties yet to come. A new understanding dawned on Anderson. They weren't entirely free, this was a new chapter. But we're not alone, he said, glancing at Lisa and Dr. Roberts. Together, we'll navigate it. Together, we'll keep exploring. Lisa nodded, hope sparking anew in her eyes. Let us go, then. Let us choose to discover what's next. With a renewed sense of purpose, they stepped forward, taking the map in their hands, ready to embrace whatever awaited them beyond the light. They were explorers, facing the cosmos together, bound by bravery and resilience formed in the crucible of fear, and then they moved forward, stepping together into the great unknown, embarking on a journey filled with potential and mysteries anew. And as their figures walked away, the glowing orb pulsing behind them, one final whisper drifted through the room: the journey continues, choose wisely. Now that you've witnessed this thrilling conclusion, you need to subscribe immediately. Don't miss out on exclusive stories like this. Smash that like button now to feed the algorithm. Your support matters. Flood the comments section with your reactions and theories. We want to hear from you about what just happened, and don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. True fans know how important it is to support the channel.